Chapter 1.8 we'll be getting into multiplication and division of real numbers. So it's another pretty short section because we probably already know how to do most of these from earlier sections. So we'll start with multiplying. So just kind of recall that the answer to a multiplication problem is called the product. And what multiplication is just repeated addition. So I'll be doing the examples in a second using repeated addition. So we probably know how to do these based on kind of our times tables from a while ago and also just from multiplying by hand. But I'll use repeated addition just to show the other way. So the properties for these, x times 0, so x being any number here and y being any number also. So anything times 0 is 0. Anything times 1 is itself. X times negative y is just negative x times y. And two negatives multiplying together cancel out. So negative x times negative y equals just x times y. So let's do some examples using the repeated addition method. So solve using repeated addition. So 4 times 3. So we obviously know that 4 times 3 is just 12. But the repeated addition way to do it, which is just exactly what multiplication is, the first number, so in this case the 4, tells us how many times we are adding the second number. So this means that we're adding 3 together 4 times. So this is going to be 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is 12. So I know you're probably thinking, well, what's the difference if we added 4 together 3 times and did it the other way? Technically, that is different. It ends up being the same answer because, I'll do it over here. So 3 times 4 is 4 plus 4 plus 4, which is obviously 12. So yes, we get the same answer, but we did it a different way. We get the same answer, those are the same because multiplication is commutative. So the order doesn't matter. So that's why we get the same thing. But technically, the way that we did it is different. So it does technically matter. Not everything in math when you multiply is going to be commutative, but multiplication with numbers is commutative. So it does work out. For the next one, we have 5 times negative 2. That means we are adding negative 2 together 5 times. So this will be negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2 plus a negative 2. So that's going to give us negative 10. So once again, we probably already knew that 5 times negative 2 was negative 10, but this is doing it using that repeated addition method. So the first number tells us how many times we are adding the second number. Okay, so let's do some more examples. So this time I'm not going to use the repeated addition method. I'm just going to multiply them. And I'll probably go through these pretty quickly because we are probably comfortable with them by now. So if we have 5 times negative 7, I'm just going to rewrite it using that property. We probably know the answer. This is the same thing as negative 5 times 7. Which is negative 35. For the next one, we have fractions, negative 1/8 times negative 3/5. So I'm going to recognize that we have two negatives. They're actually going to cancel each other off here. So I'm going to rewrite this as positive 1/8 times positive 3/5. And remember, for multiplying fractions, we multiply numerators, multiply denominators, or you can try to cross-cancel before you even multiply and cancel common factors. There are no common factors here. So this is going to be 3, and it's going to be 3 over 8 times 5. So that's going to give us 40. 3 over 40. And the next one here, we have 4 numbers being multiplied. So negative 5 times negative 3 times 1 times negative 4. So we have a couple different options here. We can just try to multiply all in one swoop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just multiply the first two together. and then I will multiply the other ones together after that one. So it's going to be -5 times -3 first. Negatives cancel, we get 15. So I'll say 15 times 1 times -4. So I'm going to just do this in one big swoop right now because multiplying by 1 isn't going to change anything. So I'm just going to do the 15 times -4. 15 times -4, negative times a positive gives us a negative. 15 times 4 is 60. So our answer is -60. Next one, we have a bunch of negatives in here too. So we have -2 times -4 times -1 times 3 times -4. So I'm just going to do the first two again. So -2 times -4 is +8. And then I'm going to write the other ones. Now I'm going to just multiply 8 times -1, which is -8. And then we can multiply just the -8 times the 3. That'll give us -24. And then we get to -24 times -4. Negative times a negative is a positive. 24 times 4 is 96, so this is going to give us +96. And next thing here is dividing real numbers, so I'll just do a bunch of examples with these and go over some properties. So the answer to a division problem is called the quotient. And what's really important here is dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So we should remember this when we were dividing fractions, the term reciprocal. So we have right here the three different ways that we can see this. We can either see it using the division sign, so x divided by y, or we can see it set up as a fraction, x over y, or we can see it as x times the reciprocal 1 over y. So they all mean the same exact thing. So if we were to write this, for example, something like 20 divided by 5, it's the same as 20 divided by 5, or 20 times 1/5. So whichever way you look at it, these all mean the same exact thing, and they all just equal 4. So here are the properties for division. So if we have 0 divided by a number, so just x and y, using x and y here again. If we have 0 divided by a number, that's always going to be 0. So 0 in the numerator is 0 total. If we have a number divided by 0, that is undefined. So we cannot divide by 0. And I think I wrote this on the previous sections one. If we have negative x for the third property here, if we have negative x over y, the negative can be out front, negative can be in the numerator, negative can be in the denominator. They all mean the same thing. And if we have a negative over a negative, we're dividing negatives, they cancel, and we get a positive. Okay. So something that may be coming into your head right now, but maybe not, is if you have something like 0 over 0. So based on property 1, you would say the answer is 0, but based on property 2, you would say it's undefined. This is something called, it's a little bit different, it's something called indeterminate form. So we really won't be diving too much into that, but that's something called indeterminate form. So let's do some of these examples down here. So let's evaluate. So 0 divided by 4. So 0 divided by 4 is just going to be 0 because we have 0 in the numerator and a number in the denominator. 0 over -2. Once again, just 0. We have 0 in the numerator, a number in the denominator. Next one, we have -3 over 0. So we have a 0 in the denominator. We cannot divide by 0, so this is undefined. So when we're dividing, we're trying to chop up the numerator into the denominator's equal parts, the number of equal parts that's in the denominator. So if we're trying to chop something up into 0 equal parts, it doesn't really make sense, so it is undefined. Okay, for the next one, negative 20 times 1/4. So you could just multiply straight across, use the fact that negative 20 is negative 20 over 1, or we could just use the fact that this is the same thing as negative 20 divided by 4, which will give us negative 5. So negative over a positive gives us a negative. Next one here, 32 divided by negative 4. So we can probably just kind of figure that out in our head as we're reading it, or we can write it like this, 32 over negative 4. Positive divided by a negative gives us a negative, so we get negative 8. Last one, we are dividing, I think it's the last one. Last one, we're dividing fractions. So this is going to be the keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the, before I even change the multiplication actually, I'm going to recognize that we have two negatives. We're dividing two negatives, so they're going to cancel off. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 3/7 divided by 1/2. Make it a little bit cleaner for us. So now we can do the keep, change, flip. So keep the first one the same. Change the multiplication, and then reciprocate the second fraction. So the reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2 over 1. Now we can multiply numerators, multiply denominators. 3 times 2 is 6. 7 times 1 is 7. So that's stuff we've already done, but just a little refresher with negatives. Okay, and that is it for 1.8.